And the other thing about this scene is, I think you kind of mentioned it, the growth of the medical student.
Yeah.
It's later on when this patient passes away, he does the same thing Dr. Robbie did, is like, let's sit
Yes.
silent and whatnot. And you see him as the leader there, and that you really do see that. Like you're an intern in residency, and you're like scared, you're shy, maybe you say like some stupid things out loud, and then by the time you're like a third year resident, you're like confident and you're like, I can handle this department, I can run this department. And you literally see that, and it's crazy that it happens in the span of like months and then years. But in 3 years, it's not that long of a time. You go from like someone who's like scared to even ask like, hey, where's the bathroom, I don't know where the bathroom is, to like you're like leading and teaching other people, which I thought was nice for them to do.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, yeah. I think also medical dramas are popular for the reason you kind of talked about how we feel like we're growing up with the doctors. Like I feel so proud of all of those like Whitaker and Javadi and I feel like I've not gone to med school with them, but you know what I mean. And I think really people really connect with that.
Awesome. Any final thoughts on this, or are we ready to move on to my clip?
Let's do it.
Now I know why everyone says being a second year resident sucks, because it does. I must have slept through the part of med school where they tell you 90% of your time will be spent typing.
Which is just one more reason surgery is a better lifestyle choice.
Hey, Dr. Shaughnessy.
Chaos. You know she's wasting her talents, don't you?
Victoria is a big girl. She can make her own decisions.
She's also a young girl who's still very impressionable. And you can be very...
Impressionable.
Yes.
What
Yeah,
a
so
scene.
yeah, it's such a funny scene. So I chose this because, obviously people that are not in medicine, when I talk to them about the pit or they'll bring it up to me, they say, what you do is really cool, it's really unique, we love the show. But it's hard to kind of, for them, in my opinion, see where the place of emergency medicine is. And I
Mm.
personally think emergency medicine is the coolest specialty. If I was doing medicine again, 100% would choose it again. I don't know about you. But I think it's the best. In this scene, it kind of puts it down a little, and I think that is a fact and a reality of medicine, where if you're not involved in the medical world, you probably see all doctors as equals, as cool, as having like very important roles, which is very true. But there is like this hierarchy of like, hey, if you match into this specialty, then you're better, or what you're doing is more important. And there is definitely a at least a idea or vibe from the older days, and it still exists, but particularly in the 80s and 90s, and it still exists, but to a lesser extent today, where surgical specialties will think they are better than like primary care or pediatrics or emergency medicine because they get to, go in and do something that is almost godlike, right? Like
Right,
fix
right,
things and whatnot. And I'm not saying that that's how all of them think. There's
right.
amazing surgeons that are friends and whatnot, but there was this old stereotype that still some of those components still kind of seep into the mentality around medicine today. And so I just wanted to, put this clip up there, have a discussion with you and Kendall. You in particular, in terms of like what you see emergency medicine as. Do you see one specialty better than the other? And then Kendall's thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts for sure because I just want to see how do you see doctors. I think most people think of doctors, they think of more pediatricians, primary care doctors when they think of physician, not really like a surgeon or
Yeah.
ENT or neurosurgeons, So what do you think, Ellie?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely think because of television, I have these stereotypes in my head. Like you're talking about the surgeon being like brash and like full of themselves. And again, I know that's not all surgeons or any of the specialties I talk about, but I definitely think yeah, they play into that. I like I said, I obviously have like a close relationship with doctors, and so I think I understand that they're fallible, but I also have a lot of respect for them. As far as like ER doctors, again, I'm very shaped by media where I'm like, I watched ER and I'm like, wow, those guys are so cool. And then this show too, I'm like, wow, they do it all. Yeah.
So I would say this. I mean, for us ER, we do get ragged on a lot by other specialties because we interact with every specialty. I would choose
Mm,
and the reason I chose is because we see everything. We see GYN, some surgery, some ortho. We get a little bit of everything. But it's not just ER. Like, the surgeons will beef with internal medicine. The surgeons will beef with GYN. The GYN, beef with like, the hospital. So whoever you interact with, you're gonna bump heads because we're all doctors, but we all kind of train kind of differently. And we have different like
right, right.
you can focus on. If you're a cardiologist, you care more about the heart versus the kidney. So if there's a treatment plan and it has a cardiac and a renal issues into it, you may not agree on things. And so I find
Mhm.
that whoever you are interacting with, especially gonna bump heads with, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's the part where, like, obviously, if you're like the nephrologist, all you focus on is the kidneys, and you know best about the kidneys. But what they don't realize is they may ask you certain questions when you call them, right? And we may not have the
Right.
answer because A, we're not a nephrologist, but B, we may simply not have the time to dig deep that enough, right? Because
Right.
like
Right.
like you said, we're calling the cardiologist, the nephrologist, we're calling the ICU to admit the patient, we're updating the
Right.
family,
Right.
we're also doing procedures on the patient. And so it's a combination of like that it I feel like in medicine we need to put ourselves in the shoes of the other person more,
Mhm.
and we don't do that enough. And from that brashness and butting heads comes because the nephrologist's job is very important. The cardiologist's job is very important, but my job is also important. And just because, maybe I don't know about cardiology as much as you do, or maybe because you're not getting the answer from me that you want in terms of, when's the surgeon going to do the surgery? Well, I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
So a surgeon knows that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think because of that they get frustrated, but we're having to take care of a lot of things.
And again, like you said,
Yeah. Yeah.
the organs are we're focusing on the heart, the brain, and you were worrying about the kidneys, which is important, but we have different things. One thing I'll say is that when I did residency, we had a residency housing, so we all kind of lived together. And if you see somebody,
Oh.
your next door neighbor is a surgeon and you're an ER doctor, you guys say hi to each other. When you call them on the phone for a
Hmm.
consult, it's a different conversation. And I feel
Yeah.
like today, like, we rarely go to the doctor's lounge. We're so busy on shift. You don't get to sit down and talk and get to know people. If you know someone,
Right. Right.
you call them on the phone, they know you care. It's a different conversation, and that's been taken out. We're so busy, so much charting that we can't communicate with each other.
Yeah.
Right. Right. You can't build those relationships. Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Another thing with your scene, I was curious about because people have reached out telling me that they feel seen by the parental pressure of like which fields to go in medicine. Did you guys ever feel that with like your parents? I don't know. Were your parents in healthcare or no?
No, but you do see that, if your parents are one specialty, you do see a lot of
Hmm.
especially we have a lot of father sons and like, nephrology, some ortho people. So, and I think you get to see it sometimes. You learn more about it, and interested in it too as well.
Yeah,
Right.
for me
Right.
it was they weren't in healthcare, but for some reason I guess so I think it's a cultural thing. My background is Pakistani, and I think it's like in that culture, like being a cardiologist is seen as like for some reason like the pinnacle of like medicine, and so they
Yeah.
were
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"To be a cardiologist," and I thought about it for like 5 seconds. I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
And like you alluded to earlier, for me, emergency medicine, like the part I love about it is that you literally know something about every system of the body, and you can,
Yeah.
yeah, you probably heard this phrase before. We know the 15 most exciting minutes of each specialty, and that's true, right? Like the
Right.
stabilizing
Yeah.
part of it, the
Mhm.
part where you can do those acute interventions and make things better potentially. And so
Right.
for
Right.
me,
Right. Right.
like even if I'm like tired or I've been working 5 shifts, like you
Mhm.
go into that shift and you do something and someone like turns around and they're better and you're like, oh wow, I
Yeah.
I helped do that, and that's a cool feeling.